drivers of the economy, and the ordinary Nigerian on developmental challenges confronting the nation in an era of diversification. The process that is meant to reinvigorate all aspects of our national life in education, science, technology and innovation, agriculture, health, and other aspects of societal development. The Weekend File crew has the onerous task of articulating all the issues, ensuring that all perspectives are brought to the table. On the show, all things matter and opinions of every class count. Weekend File shows every Saturday at 9 p.m. on the NTA network service. It is your weekend companion and a destination for news, views, and analysis. It is unmissable.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U-Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go.
Last 3 years to plan and do the infrastructure. If the roads are done, if there is power, then a lot of Nigerians will mind their own businesses.
President Buhari engages community leaders, reassures Nigerians that their confidence in government will not be abused.
The real fiscal policy implementation in member countries relate them to the overall objective.
Regional approach to deepen integration intensifies as ECOWAS financial top brass meet in Abuja.
I want to restate our commitment to you and to Nigerians in general that votes will continue to be the determinant of who wins in our elections.
Independent National Electoral Commission strategizes to put a stop to vote buying. A very good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. I am Joy Useago. Thank you for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring Nigerians that what belongs to the country in terms of resources will be retained in the country and utilized effectively for the good of all. Addressing a delegation of Ogoni leaders from the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers and elected leaders of Mossab, the president maintained that the trust and confidence reposed in him by the electorate will not be abused. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
For 16 years, this country was being mismanaged, and the Nigerian elite looked the other side. What happened to that remarkable and unprecedented revenue collected? Why is it And those who make noise, where were they? What did they do?
A very pertinent question by President Muhammadu Buhari, perhaps in response to the campaign of calumny being mounted by critics for political reasons. The challenge of infrastructure in Ogoni land, for instance, he said, would have been long resolved with more focus and commitment to improving the lives of the people instead of award and re-awarding of contracts without implementation.
It is now that we are trying in the last 3 years to plan and do the infrastructure. If the roads are done, if there is power, then a lot of Nigerians will mind their own businesses. And I believe you must have seen the efforts being made. Keep in touch with what the government is doing. I assure you, we will not abuse trust. We will make sure that what belongs to Nigeria stays in Nigeria and is utilized to develop Nigeria.
The president noted with concern that the degradation of the environment over the years had undermined the economy of Ogoni people, but called for their understanding and cooperation as the federal government takes genuine steps towards changing the situation for the better.
Please appeal to the exuberant youth to cooperate with the government and the international community to give the opportunity for those who are conducting the cleaning up. This is a priority for the benefit of the majority of our people there, the poor farmers and the fishermen and women.
Leader of the delegation, King Oginiwa, who commended the president for the achievements recorded in restoring security and the economy, called for more federal presence in Ogoni land. Professor Walter Olo presented a list of needs of the Ogoni people, including a national recognition for Ogoni 12, which includes Ken Sarowiwa, improved security, as well as the establishment of a Center for Environmental Excellence.
We thank the president for being the change agent that God wants to use at this point in time in rewriting our history as a people and as a nation in their need of new direction.
And it is our earnest desire that the Ogoni people should be able to have the opportunity to provide leadership in terms of producing the governor in Rivers State in 2019. And that's an earnest call.
Ogoni people are committed and loyal to the president because of his commitment to addressing some of the social issues, particularly the issue of corruption, and putting back the economy on track.
The president is still part of Ogoni, and the Ogonis are still part of Buhari, and will continue to be. This is one leader that has shown uncommon affection for the Ogoni people, and people just reciprocate love, and I think that's what we came to do here today.
During the visit, King Oginiwa conferred on the Nigerian leader the title of Menido Ilenu, meaning the king of doing good things in Ogoni land. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still staying with the president, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed optimism that the new investment commitments coming into Nigeria's textile sector, of which Aba is a major beneficiary, will not only enhance the nation's economic fortune, but also remove thousands of job seekers from the labor market. The president, who stated this while granting audience to some traditional rulers from Abia State, directed the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment to ensure that the proposed cotton and garment industry secured from China is actualized without further delay. Again, Adamu Sambu has the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who reaffirmed his administration's commitment to rapidly industrialize the country through projects that promote import substitution, described as exciting the promise he personally secured from the largest cotton and garment companies in the world to establish operations in Abia State.
We will continue to identify and support other projects that will promote import substitutions through job creation for our youth. This is the only way to achieve inclusive growth.
He said following a presidential mandate, generation and distribution licenses of 9.5 megawatts of power have been granted for the Ariara market in fulfillment of pre-election promise, saying before the year runs out, the market will be fully electrified.
We have seen firsthand the benefits of having patriotic and considerable leadership. We have experienced what can be achieved when Nigerians unite for a common goal. We have also seen the destruction that comes with having unpatriotic and selfish governments. And we have experienced the devastation that comes with hateful and diversionary rhetoric.
While restating the commitment of the governing APC to free, fair, and transparent elections in 2019, President Buhari also promised to do his very best to maintain Nigeria's sovereign integrity while protecting lives and livelihoods of the citizenry.
It is therefore our duty as elder statesmen, leaders, parents, and patriots to continue to guide our youth onto the path of peace and prosperity. We must not shy away from this responsibility. We only have one Nigeria, and we must ensure we hand over a better Nigeria to the next generation.
NE1 of Aba, Dr. Isaac Ekonne, lauded the Buhari administration for the successes recorded so far in the fight against corruption and insecurity, as well as the agricultural and infrastructural revolution.
It's a very good president of Nigeria. He's working. He's trying everywhere. They're going to vote him.
Challenging times like this produce men of courage, men of capacity, men who are committed to nation building. And in Mr. President, we have a man like that.
We thank the president for taking bold steps in securing that second Niger bridge. It's one project that is dear to the entire Southeast and Nigerians at large.
Igbos, the Southeasterners, will join the mainstream of Nigerian politics, and by doing so, we are telling President Muhammadu Buhari, go without any hitch for your second term.
President Muhammadu Buhari holds the chieftaincy title of Obuagu of Aba, meaning the lion killer, bestowed on him in January 2015. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Moving on to other matters now, the 40th meeting of the Convergence Council of Ministers and Central Bank Governors of the West African Monetary Zone is underway in Abuja, with Nigeria calling for sound and sustainable macroeconomic policies in the process of adoption of a single currency. Secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, said ECOWAS must draw lessons from the Eurozone, bearing in mind the urgent need for economic diversification. Leah Katum Babatunde reports.
Economic fundamentals, performance of global markets and vulnerabilities are of importance to ECOWAS member nations as they continue to strategize on meeting the single currency target. The primary and secondary conditions for the English-speaking nations are facing hitches as Nigeria's central bank governor Godwin Emefiele assumes headship of the zone. At the opening of this policy meeting, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, says compliance with fiscal deficit criteria is the most challenging of the four principal currency convergence criteria.
There is therefore the need to identify those developments that drive fiscal policy implementation in member countries and relate them to the overall objective.
In achieving the goals of WAMS, diversification will play an important role.
Thus, this phenomenon requires appropriate policy response involving diversification and structural transformation of our economies to mitigate such risks with attendant implications for the credibility of the monetary union.
The policymakers will be looking to fine-tune the strategies for meeting the single currency target, and so far, only 3 English-speaking countries have met 3 of the primary criteria. In Abuja, I'm Leah Kating Babatunde, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has urged traders at Agbagi International Market in Ibadan to take advantage of the Trader Money Loan Scheme to expand their businesses. He said this while addressing the beneficiaries of the loan in Ibadan. Correspondent Adebola Ogunlano reports. Assessing the execution of the loan in Gbagi Market, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said the collateral-free loan, which was dispensed through the Bank of Industry, is part of the federal government's National Social Investment Program to reinforce government's efforts at bridging the credit gap and empower Nigerians at the grassroots. He said the loan is not only intervened to expand the traders' businesses, but also to change their standard of living.
We're bringing it down to the level of the petty trader, so that a petty trader in trading practically anywhere gets 10,000 as a first loan, and when they pay back that 10,000, we open a bank account for them, and they can get 15. They can then take 15,000, pay it back, you get 20,000, and it goes on like that.
The traders were full of appreciation to the federal government for the gesture, saying such loans will further boost their trade. The scheme is targeting 30,000 petty traders and artisans in Oyo State, with each of the beneficiaries entitled to 10,000 naira. In Ibadan, Adebola Ogulano, NTA News. Just this afternoon, some sections of the media announced the resignation of the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun. This, however, has not been confirmed, as there is no official statement from the presidency in this regard. Despite persistent rainfall in recent times, the multi-billion naira reconstruction work on the Gombe-Ola Highway continues with little or no hitches. Correspondent Abubakar Adamu reports that the befitting communities have been appreciating the federal government for rekindling their hope.
Until recently, the over 200-kilometer Gombe-Yola Highway constituted one of the deadly traps in the sub-region because of its deplorable nature, which also provided suitable environment for armed banditry operations. This has now become history with the ongoing reconstruction of the road, courtesy of the Buhari administration. Contractors have been working around the clock to beat deadline, with significant percentage of the project completed.
The only challenges I see we face is the rainfall due to the material we use on site. So the work might be a bit slow, but work is in progress.
Motorists and benefiting communities commended the giant stride of the federal government, which they say has rekindled their hope.
This is the direct project that the masses will feel the impact.
There's nothing we can say. We only thank the president for this project.
The billions of naira project has already restored the busy movement of people and goods in the area. In Gombe, Abubakar Adamu, NTA News.
President Muhammad Buhari has felicitated with the Alake of Egbaland Oba Ade Dotun Aremu Gbadebo, the third on his 75th birthday. A statement by the special advisor to the president, media and publicity, Femi Adesina, indicates that while joining the entire Egba community in celebrating the historical milestone for the royal father, whose accession to the throne of his fathers since 2005 has brought peace, unity and prosperity to the people, President Buhari prays that God will grant the Alake of Egbaland longer life, good health and strength to keep serving his people and the nation. You're still watching the network news on the services of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, more news.
Hello, Niger.
It's a beautiful day.
And now it's time for some amazing music.
Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back.
Where is it?
What are you searching for?
With Glow Yakata, for every recharge, they'll give you 22 times the amount to call all the networks.
What? So if I load 100 naira, they will give me 2,200 naira?
Exactly! And that's not all. They're also giving up to 6 gigabytes of data every month for 6 whole months.
Wow! That's incredible!
Yes!
Are you sure? 22 times on every recharge?
Yup.
Found it! Found it! This is it! Yes!
Get up to 6 gigabytes data every month for 6 months and 2,200 Naira bonus for every 100 Naira recharge. The core all networks where talkers and browsers live. The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
All right, kids. Today you're all going to tell me how you all spent your holidays. So the essay will be... Who did that? Who did that? Share in the fun and excitement of the new school session with great tasting Indomie noodles. Hurry now and get yours. Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
Eshima. Mama. I'm out of food. Eshima, thank you, Ma.
Amaka, ṣé wọ́n ni? Soap, orí, shea butter.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Here is Kellogg's Cocoa Pops for you. Kellogg's Cocoa Pops is tasty and nutritious and has 11 vitamins and minerals. I cannot think of a better breakfast for my children. Do you give your kids Kellogg's Cocoa Pops?
Enjoy Kellogg's Rice Krispies for breakfast. It snaps, crackles, and pops. Kellogg's Rice Krispies is tasty and is enriched with 11 vitamins and minerals. My family loves it. Try today.
An indigenous company with investors across Nigeria, Galaxy Intercontinental Miners Concept Limited, a subsidiary of Galaxy Transportation and Construction Companies, is committed to providing our clients the best. What more? Patronizing us is not just a business transaction, but committing to the economic development of our great country, Nigeria. 5% of our profits goes to charity, IDPs, and orphanages. Our branches are located off Abuja, Kaduna Road, Jere Local Government, and Jikoko, Mpape, Abuja. For details, call
When it comes to 30,000 naira, 30,000 naira to somebody is 1,000,000 naira.
I just applied online. I did not know anybody.
I'm under carpenting. I was given saw, bar, tenant saw, ama.
Federal government is able to mobilize me by giving me one iPad to aid me in carrying out my exercise.
So the money that was given to me, I was able to establish some little farm, and this building we are standing on.
I also have goats that I train.
But with the exception of the Empower, I've been able to do some little contribution that have actually helped me to put the money together and been able to service people.
My thanks goes to the President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for this thing that he has done for the youth of Nigeria. So we are grateful.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State has appealed to the federal government and donor agencies to come to the aid of the state in tackling the humanitarian crisis arising from the flood ravaging the state. The governor stated this in Lokoja while briefing the media on the situation in the state. Solomon Ayedehin reports.
The governor who made the plea against the backdrop of the flood said more than 200 communities across 10 local government areas of the state have been submerged. Further release of water from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon in days to come, he added, will no doubt worsen the situation. His administration, he informed the journalists, is doing its best, stressing that the resources of the state have been overstretched and therefore call on the federal government and other donor agencies to come to the rescue of the state, while thanking all relevant government agencies and stakeholders for their efforts so far. The governor charged people living along the floodplains to move to higher grounds, especially to the internally displaced camps provided by government. Kogi, which is a confluence of rivers Niger and Benue, has been worst hit by flood waters since 2012. In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehin, NTA News.
Flood has continued to ravage communities in parts of Niger State, and there are Gugun and Rafin Gora communities in Shiroro local government areas of the state, and they are the latest to be affected by the flood that displaced more than 1,000 people. Fatima Usman reports that a stakeholders meeting was also converged to re-strategize.
The release of excess water from the Shiroro hydropower station is said to have led to the flooding of the two communities. Houses, livestock and farmland were submerged by the flood that rendered the victims homeless. While some of the victims are staying with relations, many of them are being camped at the government secondary schools in Geru. During a visit to the flood victims, the Director General of the State Emergency Management Agency, Ahmad Ibrahim Inga, said the agency has to relocate them in order to address their plight collectively. He said food and security have been provided at the camp.
With this current situation, those that the responsibility of doing that will move faster and do the needful.
We are just here, we don't know what are we going to do. There is no food for it.
And some people say more they pack, some people say no, na lie then they lie.
We have nothing to survive now. The Director General of the State Emergency Management Agency, Ahmad Ibrahim, told the meeting that 40 lives have been lost to flooding in the state, adding that 22 out of the 25 local government areas have been affected by the flood. The National Emergency Management Agency MENA Operations Officer Aliyu Shehu Kafin Dengi said the agency is working with the annual seasonal rainfall predictions of NIMET to reduce occurrence of flooding in Kwara and Niger states. In Mina, Fatima Usman, NTA News.
To talk about this challenge that is facing the country at the moment, I have a number of gentlemen in the studio to talk to it. First, I would like to introduce Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Joy.
Also here with us in the studio is Mustafa Meihaja. He's the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency. Thank you for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
I'd also like to introduce Rear Admiral Peter Agu Onaji, Chief of Defense, Civil Military Corporation Defense Headquarters. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And last but not the least is Mabudi Basha. He's the Acting Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us this evening. It shows that the federal government is concerned about this situation. I'd like to start with you, Garba Shehu. It's obvious that for this four to be here in the studio this evening, that the federal government is concerned. This is like a call to action. Let's know the mind of the president on this issue.
The president has received reports, very worrisome reports from across the federation. You have just reported on a number of these flooding incidents. Now, the reports that the president is receiving are indicative of the fact that actually more trouble lies ahead. Water levels in major rivers, Niger, River Benue, have risen to levels that have come just short of what they were in 2012, when we had those major flooding incidents in the country where there was so much destruction of life and property. And the thing is now we're getting there. And the rains are still on. So the president, feeling so concerned, has mandated the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to lead other government agencies to declare a national disaster on particularly some of the states that are bordering these major rivers, Benue and rivers. They will talk to the nation on the details of the president's.
All right, thank you very much, Malam Garba Shehu. Let me go quickly to Mustafa Mehaja, DG NEMA. It is obvious that the water levels have really gone up. The statistics I have here put it that is at 10.86 today as against 10.66 on Tuesday. And looking at what happened in 2012, what are you doing about this alarming situation? It is obvious that there is political will coming from the presidency.
Well, let me first correct the figure. The level as of today, the confluence of River Niger and Benue is 10.96.
Okay.
The level the same day, 2012, was just 9.7 or thereabout. That is to say, contrary to the first information, the level as it is today, right from on the 6th of September, at each of the days is more than 2012. What it means as of today, we are just 1.88 less than what it was in 2012.
So in other words, what does that translate to?
What it translates is we are approaching a very serious national crisis. 12 states are already along those really threatened lines. That's both river, 9 in River Niger and then 3 in River Benue. So when NEMA, the first pronouncement by NISA in February, we have been constantly and keenly watching the situation. When it was 9.89 on the 6th, we had to call emergency meeting of all the stakeholders, ministries, the military, that is defense headquarters, the United Nations organs, and declare a red alert on that day. We also set up 6 committees of membering all the stakeholders to go around the 12 states to first alert the state government of the dangerous situation, to identify location of high ground where movement of possibly displaced people could be made, and then to, where we found that the communities are already threatened, we evacuate them. Like in Kebbi, we evacuated many. Also in Taraba, we evacuated some.
Now, you talk about synergy. I want to know how the sub-nationals are reacting or responding to this collaborative effort.
Well, we assess, everyone explained to us his readiness, but we felt we must go and see. That is what really informed us of setting up committee. But let me use this opportunity to inform Nigerians of the position of Mr. President. Mr. President has approved and has given the delegated authority to the Director General of NEMA to declare national disaster in the event the anticipated flood materialize. He also delegated authority to the Director General National Emergency Management Agency to activate the disaster response unit of the military for possible search and rescue. He also approved 3 billion naira for procurement and proportional stocking of relief material and health-related items to provide the needs of possible victims.
All right, now that you mentioned the military, let me go quickly to Rear Admiral Peter Abu Onaji. What role would you be playing in terms of assisting relevant agencies concerning this situation we have on ground?
Thank you. It is the primary responsibility of the military to ensure security of all Nigerians in all cases of crisis. And in the event of flood occurring anywhere in this country, military assets will be deployed will be mobilized and deployed to respond adequately to such crisis. We are already on top of the situation, preparing, training to carry out search and rescue operations, as well as evacuation of victims from the danger areas to the safe identified locations.
Now, talking about the areas, the red alert areas, do you already have your men on ground there? Because we've had series of reports from different states of the Federation that have been affected by this situation.
Yes, in virtually all the areas, we have the disaster response unit, the military disaster response units. And as we speak, the Defense Headquarters has a team going around all these facilities to ensure the state of readiness of the equipment, the state of readiness of the personnel to respond professionally to any call for rescue.
All right. Mabudi Basha, we're looking at solutions to this persistent upsurge of water level. Is it to create more dams, rivers, or tributaries?
Well, thank you very much. The solutions are many. Creating another dams is a solution. Like when you listen to the Good Morning Nigerian today, Dr. Adano has said it. Far back, the agreement between Nigeria, even and Cameroon, was to have a dam in Adamawa State that can contain the water coming in case of Lobdo has opened it. So dredging is another issue whether we can have a solution to it. And the best solution is most of these things are man-made because there are issues that you shouldn't build on a waterways, dumping of refuse. All this one that can stop those things is a solution to it. And a sensitization is always going on as part of what is supposed to be a contribution by people, because some of them are definitely man-made issues, but the solutions have to come by definitely having what Nigeria can do to accommodate some of these water coming in from outside.
Let me take you back a little. Since you made reference to Professor Adano, I listened to him too. Now, that agreement is not new. Why is it taking so long to come into effect?
Well, if you heard what he said is there was an agreement with the Cameroonian government even as to have that dam in Adamawa so that it can even accommodate some of the waters in the Benue axis. So, but that was not done. Probably we talk about funding at that time, far back about 10 to 15 years ago. So that's the issue.
All right. Let me come back to Garba Shehu. The presidency obviously is interested in the synergy and how they're working together to solve this problem. In terms of supervision and coordination, what should we expect from your office?
Well, as it is now, I think that our focus is on the need to sensitize Nigerians. We shouldn't just sit back, fold our arms, and watch disaster fall upon us. The loss of life, even if it is just one, it's simply not acceptable. And the president wants everyone, to join the train and be part of this effort to, if we can, ensure that there are no losses whatsoever. The floods will continue to come. The waters will continue to rise. So all of our citizens and the governments from Kebbi to Niger, Kogi, Edo, Delta, Rivers, Bayelsa. This is for River Niger. Benue, Adamawa, Taraba. Everyone should be on their guard, and the president has now set the ball rolling. This huge sum of money for the procurement of needed aid material in order that these things would have come. The states, each one has a state emergency management agency. They just shouldn't sit back and wait for NEMA. NEMA will do their best, but everyone has got to put in their best into this.
In terms of collective responsibility, you know how people are in Nigeria. Do you have anything in place in terms of monitoring mechanisms to follow up?
Well, Nigerians, all of the citizens of the country have a duty to audit our own governments. When you check the records, even local councils have security votes in their own finances. State governments have. And the funny thing about this country is that they look to Abuja whenever there is trouble of this sort. And that shouldn't be helpful.
All right, DG Nema, you know, in terms of evacuating people from these flood-prone areas, we know how some people are. They'll tell you, oh, this is my ancestral home. I don't have plans to move. Are you going to force them to move, or you leave them to their fate?
Well, first of all, let me comment on the structure in disaster management in Nigeria. You cannot have an efficient or effective disaster management without a proper structure. The structure is such that at federal we have NEMA, at the state we have SEMA, and the local we have local emergency committee. Each has a role, and the role is the disasters are categorized into three: major, catastrophic, major, and minor. And the federal agencies are responsible under the coordination of NEMA for the catastrophic disaster, while the major, the state, and the minor, the local government. But we have a weak link. The facts remain that the SEMAs and the local emergency are not really functional. They are lacking funding. They are lacking, some of them have not even promulgated law to govern their activities, 3 states after now. So the issue is, once we want proper and efficient disaster management, we must have effective operational structure. So in 2 occasions, I know, in the National Economic Council, the Vice President convened all the governors and told them of the need to fund agencies, to raise their capacity. So I'm using this opportunity to make Nigerians know that we need a functional SEMA, we need a functional SEMA. However, this government being a responsible government, anytime a small minor disaster in Malamodori in Jigawa State, they will call NEMA. This must stop, but we have to respond. Because we feel responsible, but it has to stop.
Well, let's hope this will be a call to action for everyone. Let's go quickly to Rear Admiral Peter Agu Onaji. What advice would you offer to Nigerians at this point, briefly?
I'll simply say that the Nigerians should remain calm. There's no cause for alarm. If the flood eventually comes, we have the ability to respond adequately. We have medical facilities all over. The military is ready to deploy to make its medical facility available to all victims that will be evacuated. Where they need any first aid or medical attention, they are sure to receive such attention in all our military hospitals across the country.
All right. Well, Mahmoudi Bashi, let's hear a last word from you briefly.
Yes, part of the responsibility of Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency is to sensitize people after the presentation of the annual flood outlook. That is what we are witnessing today, because the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency has already earmarked the 25 states that will be affected by this flood. That is what we are witnessing now. The months of July, August, September, which we know as jazz months, is the critical period for the flooding incidents in Nigeria, and that is exactly what we are witnessing now. So sensitization is one thing, but accepting to take it is another. So the more you sensitize, if the people will go by what the sensitization, the advice is given to them, so many things will be reduced.
All right. Mahmoudi Bashir, Acting Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. I want to thank you very much for joining us this evening. I also like to thank Rear Admiral Peter Agu Onaji, Chief of Defense, Civil Military Cooperation Defense Headquarters. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll also like to thank Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. Let's also thank Mustafa Meihaja, Director General, NEMA. We wish you well, and we hope the sub-nationals will cooperate with you in solving this issue. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Moving on now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was among eminent Nigerians that converged on Abeokuta to celebrate Alake of Egbaland, Oba Aderotun Gbadebo, who clocked 75 years. Lekon Agbonde reports that the ancient town of Abeokuta was agog as sons and daughters of the land honored the monarch.
It was a celebration with touch of class and royalty as distinguished Nigerians joined Egba's sons and daughters in celebrating His Royal Majesty, the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Aderotun Gbadebo. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who directed the cutting of the birthday cake, described the Alake Oba Aderotun Gbadebo as an extraordinary person who has distinguished himself by playing a significant role in the development of not only Egbaland, but Nigeria.
The President, when I was telling him that I was coming here, was telling me that himself and Kabiyesi shared the same faith, that they both left office on the same day. The same letter was written to both of them. Today, one of them is President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the other is the Grand Monarch of the #1 state in Nigeria.
Vice President Osinbajo, who also unveiled a publication in honor of the Alake entitled The Giant Strides of a Vintage Monarch, prayed for preservation of life and good health for the monarch. The Vice President was accompanied by the Governor of Ogun State, Ibekula Amosun, who had earlier at a church service commended Oba Aderotun Gbadebo for his extraordinary efforts in fast-tracking the development of Egbaland.
People will not even believe what the state will become in the next few years. And especially the capital of the state, which is Abeokuta. Of course, we will have to any capital of the world.
In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
Contrary to insinuations in certain quarters, the federal government says it is irrevocably committed to the implementation of the new minimum wage to the nation's labor force. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, gave the assurance while speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari alongside the chairman of the National Minimum Wage Committee, Ama Pepo. He said in line with this, a special session of the Economic Management Team, chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is scheduled for Tuesday next week, dedicated to the national minimum wage. President Buhari was also briefed on the security and political situation in Zamfara State and the best way forward by the senator representing Zamfara Central in the National Assembly, Kabiru Garba Mafara.
Backlog of promotion areas, we are paying backlog of transfers and repatriation and the rest of them all. So, and we are giving them houses under fish and other things. So this government is a labor-friendly government, and we must put smiles on their faces before the next election. The problem we have now is that some states are not paying even the present minimum wage. So you must go along with them. And any figure you put in must not be such that can cause disequilibrium in the economy.
We have been working very hard, and I believe everything is on course. I expect our report will be ready this month, inshallah, by the grace of God.
In the meantime, the Buhari campaign organization has started to mobilize supporters all over the country to work for a second-term victory for President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2019 general elections. National Coordinator BOCS Alhaji Danladi Pasali said this at the inauguration of the Osun State office of the organization in Osogbo. Yemi Akintunde reports. That story will come to you in the course of the bulletin. Moving on now, wife of the president, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has called on the supporters of President Muhammadu Buhari not to relent in propagating the manifesto of the All Progressives Congress of changing the lives of Nigerians to ensure victory of the party come 2019 general elections. Mrs. Buhari stated this when she received officials of Project 4+4 Buhari Oshibajo 2019 who paid her a courtesy call. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports.
Drawn from the 36 states of the Federation, including FCT, Project 4+4 Buhari Oshibajo 2019 is a coalition of friends and supporters of President Muhammadu Buhari. Their focus was purely on grassroots mobilization to supporting the administration of the current government. While seeking the blessings and prayers of the wife of the president in achieving this target, the leader of the group, Garba Musa Bello, told Mrs. Buhari that they have resolved to work with the relevant stakeholders, especially women and youth, in propagating the achievements of the present government.
Our target is to engage and sensitize 35 to 40 million Nigerians through our different means of disseminating information.
While acknowledging their efforts, the wife of the president urged the group to continue with their mobilization program, especially at the grassroots, bearing in mind the good policies and programs of the government.
Although we have the votes and the backing of millions of Nigerians, it is important we continue the mobilization so that we don't leave anyone behind.
Mrs. Buhari also emphasized on the need for political leaders to engage massively on developmental projects and programs that will have direct bearing to the electorate, adding that once this is achieved, re-election of APC come 2019 is automatic. From the State House, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Network News. We now join Elizabeth in Lagos with stories from that zone. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Joy. It's nice to see you and welcome to Lagos. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has charged African leaders to adopt the values of service above self as propagated by Rotary International. Addressing the Rotary International Zone 20A Institute being hosted by Nigeria for the first time in Lagos, the Vice President said this could help in getting the continent out of the grip of corruption and poverty. Michael Olale reports.
Rotarians from the 54 countries in Africa that make up Zone 20A announced their presence at the Institute, which is another word for conference. It was an overt expression of their national identities and the spread of Rotary as well as its ideals. The value of these ideals were what Vice President Osinbajo stressed as he emphasized the integral benefits in service above self for the ultimate goal of Africa.
The rentier economy, by which the wealthiest are the most connected and not the most hardworking or innovative, is a direct contradiction to selfless service in any way. It is my respectful view that the African Rotarian, by virtue of the values of Rotary, its historical commitments to the highest standards of integrity, and the peculiar challenges of our continent, must go beyond advocacy to positive action in support of building the ramparts of integrity at all levels of society.
President-elect of Rotary International, Mark Meloni, says the 2018 theme, Lead, Act, and Inspire, is a clarion call to all Rotarians to take a practicable approach towards improving the quality of lives in their areas.
Our Rotary values are what inspire our community and vocational and international service. They inspire our work against polio that has brought us to only 15 cases of polio caused by wild polio virus this year, down from 350,000 a year 3 decades ago.
In order 11 months plus, you have a certificate from World Health Organization, WHO, that Nigeria is polio-free.
This is the first time Nigeria is hosting the Zona Institute at which Rotary's future leaders are trained. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, in continuation of his engagement with media outfits to drum up more support for the ongoing federal government's national campaign against fake news, says no amount of hostility marshaled against the President Muhammadu Buhari's led administration will dampen its anti-corruption stance. The minister stated this when he visited the management of Channels Television in Lagos. Anthony Forson reports.
This campaign must be driven by the media itself.
The Information and Culture Minister, although not a stranger to the station, engaged the management of Channels Television on the need for the media to abhor fake news and toe the path of professionalism, which is the pride of the profession, warning that any media outfit that engages in the act is always the first victim.
Therefore, we believe that it is in the enlightened self-interest of the media organizations to partner and support us in this our drive.
He recalled that since the campaign was launched, those opposed to President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration's anti-corruption crusade have been reeling out series of fake news.
The opposition has found it difficult to take on this government on concrete issues of infrastructure development, fighting insecurity, on the issue of the economy, or even fighting corruption. So the only weapon left for them is fake news. And this is why I believe that we all must, we must all work together to ensure that the naysayers don't have the upper hand.
Reacting to a question fielded at him, the minister maintained that the federal government is not out to gag the media, but only trying to reawaken the consciousness of practitioners to adhere to ethics.
It's not about the government trying to be defensive, no. I can give you many examples of fake news. When we exploit the political fault lines of the country to drive a story which is not true. Not only is it fake news, it also threatens the very existence of our country.
Chairman of Channels Television, John Momo, said Channels, as a neutral arbiter, is poised to adhere strictly to professionalism.
We cherish the profession very much. So much so that as people walk through the door into Channels TV, they drop every bias as much as possible. I know we're not perfect.
In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Network News. More reports ahead. Stay with us.
Sense, can nothing. Some can think but have no sense. Sister, good morning. I have everything. Can you come to my store? Beautiful. She's using my Kumago to take my costume. Totally will do something. 50% discount. Hey! Thank you. Madam!
Please come inside.
Shut up your mouth!
So you don't know that with low Oga SIM, you can upload your market and get as many customers as you want?
You useless! I said for the beginning where you go, you get crazy.
With Glow Oga SIM, enjoy 125% more data to get ahead. Dial *777#, the largest data network. Glow, grandmasters of data.
The Aerial Assurance Challenge.
Oh, thank you. But what assurance can you give our daughter?
Everything. With the new look Aerial, I can even do the laundry.
Prove it then.
Okay. Let's make this stain even tougher. Now, let's wash the cloth with your detergent and with new look Aerial. Do you believe me now?
Aerial, now in a new look pack.
I can taste the real chicken.
Real chicken.
Don't worry, Abba. It's not your chicken.
It's the Sedap Supreme Chicken Essence that gives it the supreme chicken taste. Be Supreme, Nigeria.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Thank you for staying with us. News just reaching us says President Muhammadu Buhari Friday accepted the resignation of the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun. The president thanked the minister for her services to the nation and wished her well in her future pursuits. The president also approved that the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, should oversee the Ministry of Finance with effect from today. And that's NTA Network News. We thank you for staying with us. Do have a pleasant evening.
From the
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
When it comes to 30,000 naira, 30,000 naira to somebody is a million naira. To somebody like me, the 30,000 naira have helped me thus far.
That 2010 I served, there was no job.
We call it jama. We are just doing anything we see.
I've been going up and down, hustling on immigration job and others I could not get. Even the one they did in the stadium, I end up having a dislocation. I discovered that who you know, it's no matter of the exercise or the things you do. But somebody just encouraged me that, no, just go and try. We can see a change in this.
I just applied online. I did not know anybody.
I received a text message that I should come online and update my details. It was a free and fair selection.
And I do the training for 3 months. I do graduation. Now they give me box, some of the tools.
I'm under carpenting. I was given saw, bar, tenon saw, hammer. We are given safe boots and safe clothes in order to make things right for us.
Federal government is able to mobilize me by giving me one iPad to aid me in carrying out my exercise as Empower head.
So the money that was given to me, I was able to establish some little farm, and this building we are standing on is part of the benefit I got from Empower.
I started chicken poultry with the little stipends we are getting. I also have goats that I train.
I am currently running my ICANN program through the help of this 30,000 naira. It is part of my savings that I'm using to sponsor myself. So when you have the passion already and you get the fuel from the federal government, it kicks you up.
I've not been having money to finance the business, but with the exception of the Empower, I've been able to do some little contribution that have actually helped me to put the money together and been able to service people. Also, I'm into poultry too. Before I was doing 10 broiler, 10 layers, but now I can raise to 150, 200 broilers.
I do go to Lagos and buy some shoes and sell. Out of the little money I realize on a monthly basis. So I can tell you that it has really impacted on me heavily.
So we really appreciate the President of Nigeria for providing this program to the youths.
My thanks goes to the President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for this thing that he has done for the youth of Nigeria. So we are grateful.
What makes a bottle of origin? Driven by legendary craftsmanship, the flavors of roots, herbs, and fruit come together for a delicious, bittersweet taste. The flavors of origin, expertly blended from root to bottle.
Our feature on Lagos Update this week.
From the beginning of this administration, there was a plan established to address quite a number of issues. And of course, we always go along with the thematic areas in the sector. The first one had to be the issue of infrastructure. We need to address the issue of infrastructure in terms of facilities available. Even those facilities, make them functional. So we needed to equip them. We need to provide utilities. You recollect again when the governor first came in, it provided some things that were badly needed.
What we used to have before now, sincerely speaking, is a situation where we call most of our general hospitals a mere clinic. But the days are far gone. What we have now, generally speaking, is a well-equipped 5-star general hospital, because there's this mass aggressive renovation of most of our structures, not just in Ekpe General Hospital, but all over the 26 health facilities.
The governor made it clear that you want to embark not only on massive physical structural development that is seen all over the place, but also on the so-called intangibles that directly impacts on the life of people of Lagos. And that was why in the first quarter of the inception of this administration, some equipment that were given to the hospital, which include X-ray machine, ambulances, and others, have been of immense benefit to the people.
In fact, right now we are undergoing a major renovation in the hospital. And I know that when the renovation is completed, we will have a brand new world-class island maternity that can compete with most hospitals in Africa.
Then, as if that wasn't enough, he went ahead and motivated most of the medical directors. We were given brand new car as our official car.
In the state, we are very methodical and very strategic. We discussed the MDs, we went around what are the areas of challenge that the staff, and a lot of requests were made from various hospitals reflecting the different challenges having different facilities. There are some that had diagnostic issues, there are some that had the in-house space or they need to re-equip the theater facility issues, different things. So we collated all those. And again, we looked at the fact that there are some hospitals that are distant from the facility, so we need to equip them properly so that people don't have to start shortly. You have to reduce referral time. So there are so many things we took into consideration before arriving at the list of equipment.
First of all, we have a digital X-ray machine. A digital X-ray machine is a machine that requires no processing. In the past, what you use is to take it just like your digital camera. Everything you can access information through the computer. So you don't need to buy any chemical to process the film. We have ultrasound scan, which is another diagnostic procedure to help us study the internal organs without necessarily opening them up.
In terms of the capacity for admission, we are receiving a lot of beds, bedside lockers.
Operating table, theater lamps, monitors, all coming into the theater. We have things for monitoring, blood pressure apparatus, pulse oximeters, and everything all for monitoring.
Theater beds, anesthetic machine, monitoring equipment like patient monitor, pulse oximeters.
You have the industrial washing machine that is there, the industrial dryer that is there. I can tell you that the